Welcome to Elon Musk Kinetic painting. I'm David Lamort. So this is one of my newer paintings. This is an acrylic painting on pressed cardboard. Just a piece of illustration board that was rejected by one of my students. Basically, they started the project, couldn't erase it as well as they wanted, and so, like always, I took it home rather than just throw it in the trash. Oops. Okay, so this is my attempt at product placement. We'll talk about that, I guess, later. So I'm right now, what I'm just trying to do with all the election going on, I actually recorded this video pre-inauguration, and I am recording the audio after. So it's a little weird. Two very different feelings. However, I'm putting down this yellow underpainting. I'm trying to kind of give him a warmish glow. Also trying to make him look a little like sallow and sickly. I had to break off the mechanism on the back. There was a wooden piece sticking out, essentially like a bamboo skewer, so that I could spin some Cybertrucks on the back of it. And it just made it totally difficult to paint on here. So I'm not really a painter. I'm more like a sculptor who can draw. So a lot of times you'll see me kind of just like fluffing around with the paint, kind of just kind of messing things up to experiment and see where things go. So in some ways I refer to myself. There's a very, very heady Japanese term for this, but I call myself a turd polisher. Like, I take a terrible idea and I work it incredibly hard until it makes sense again, or it looks good again. And of course, we're blurry here. I find Elon Musk kind of fascinating, maybe not necessarily in a positive way, just like how the mind works. I guess like when you're that wealthy and you're surrounded by people who just like work for you, and everyone's just telling you how you're the specialist boy in the world. Like, I think every idea sounds like a winner, but I don't know. I feel like he's very detached from reality. So I eventually had to give up on, I guess because I was so used to using the wood, the board wasn't going to stay, so I ended up having to like masking tape it to my easel, but it works. So I'm adding that green for the shadow. A human face is mostly, a reddish brown or a reddish peach, and I'm adding the green because it's an opposite color. Kind of achieve that sallow, kind of sickly look, but also, to try and emphasize the coloring. I did a recent painting. I probably should do a whole video on my other painting. Basically, the guy from Doom. And there's a bunch of dollars. I don't know. I got the idea of like 3 arms. It's really giving, what do you call it? Sicilian flag vibes. And I thought, hey, I should do something with the Musk man, President Elon, what's his face. And so this is kind of like my attempt to do that, and I'm pretty happy how it came out, even though it's on cardboard. I have to redo the mechanism that spins the Cybertrucks around his head. Normally, I make everything out of wood because I really like wood, because as someone who's not really a traditional painter, I do most of my painting and drawing on either paper or wood. I like canvas, but it often gives, which is for someone who's often has like a heavy hand when they draw and paint. I often will stretch the canvas incorrectly, beat it up a little bit, so I try and use something a little less flexible. There are canvases that are backed or whatever, but I've been really into panels, and the paper was just something I had. I'm trying to stay out of the wood shop a little bit. So here I'm adding the color to the ears to add the shadows as well. I was really happy how these turned out. So you'll notice something, the eyes are cut out. So part of the arms of the Cybertrucks is also going to be a little wheel with pupils on it. And my idea in my head, and everything, the best laid plans of mice and artists, is I'm going to make it so he has like googly eyes as they spin. I've done similar stuff with changing the color of the whole eyes. I'm really experimenting with the pupils here. So here I'm using this Tuscan yellow for the face. Oh no, and a little bit of the brown for the hair. I don't know. There we go. As you can see, like, that underpainting kind of really adds a color to it. I think, like, for people who don't paint on a regular basis, you don't really think about, like, the layering of colors, because a lot of paints, especially acrylic paints, and oils to a lesser extent, I'm not really as versed in oils as I probably should be. The paint is almost translucent, and even if it's not, the color, the underpainting of the color that you put underneath will often like seep through the color you put on top. And a lot of like old masters, so I guess especially with oils, now I'm thinking about it, use that kind of layering of colors to really give a deep effect, to really get like shadows and light, to really, you know, kind of like visually sculpt the objects in their paintings, to really render the shapes of things. And I'm attempting to do this here, although in the video, maybe just the lighting of my studio, the corner of my bedroom I call my studio, makes it look more orange than it's going to come out, but I'll eventually even it out a bit. And of course, I always like to use every little bit of the color all around, because the colors of your face, the color of your hair, all kind of like influences each other, and so I try and imitate that in the way I paint and draw. I really try to look for a face where he looked kind of like annoyed or confused as much as possible. Elon Musk has a very expressive face, but I don't really think he's good at controlling it, but it makes for some really interesting photos. And that's kind of what I'm going for here. And you can see the painting on the left is a study I did on a canvas board. Of course, the one on the left has his, what do you call it, his original hairline in the PayPal days, before he, you know, he got the Turkish plugs before people were even flying to Istanbul to get their plugs put in, which, I don't know, sounds frightening to me. But I'm also saying this is a guy who has most of a full head of hair. I don't think I'm going to end up losing my hair until I'm much older. However, I don't know. I was just telling my buddy the other day, like, I feel like we're in a golden age of bald men. Bald and short men. Short kings. Balding beauties. I don't know. I feel like it's never been more acceptable and aesthetically pleasing to be a bald man. I mean, listen, Michael Jordan walked so that Steve Harvey could run. And, I don't know. I think there's something nice about a guy who, like, has a bald head but, like, keeps his hair cropped short, or, you know, shaved skinned. I don't know. But, of course, I'm saying this is someone who has an unkempt mop of Brillo on his head, so I guess take everything I say with a grain of salt. So these colors, I'm definitely overdoing the eyes a bit. I'm going to end up having to fix that. Like I said, turd polisher. I experiment, take chances, and then I try and fix it later. And in some ways, I think that adds a little bit more interest to the painting, trying to see how I can fix things. I think if I end up getting something right the first time, and I don't know if you're like this at all, I feel like it's always a lot less interesting than having to see a painting where I struggled a lot. Obviously, like, for this piece, I did a bunch of sketches in my sketchbook. I even did a painting using that yellow technique I was thinking about, which is why the background of that painting on the left has this fuchsia background. That's another painting, a canvas board actually from the high school I was working at last year. And one of my students rejected, didn't want to take it home. So I was like, whatever. I painted over it, and waste not, want not. Also, it's really nice. I have like a whole shelf of these things now, just like the discarded canvas boards that my kids didn't really want, or got messed up, or were damaged. I'm like, I use so much paint, you really can't tell the difference. But But yeah, you can start to see Elon's face kind of take shape here. I feel like in real life, Elon Musk's face is a lot more pale, because usually when you see the guy on TV or whatever, the internet, on video, I don't really think the lighting really is very flattering to someone who has like a very, very light skin tone sometimes. I mean, obviously, like, he's a billionaire, he's inside, he's constantly tweeting all the time. This is not a guy who gets a lot of sun. But I really tried to make his face for this painting much warmer, because I don't know, I just found it more appealing. Also, like, the point of this is not to make fun of this guy's looks. Around here, actually, you can just barely see the Doom guy kind of poking his head around my shelf in the background, but I'm going to be having a few burning Cybertrucks spinning around his head. This is an idea I've had for a long time. I actually have a little wooden ones that I made in the basement. They're just like plywood trapezoids that I put little flames on top. Originally, this Elon painting was going to be a Elon bot, so he was going to be a robot, and the what do you call it? The Cybertrucks were going to be like roller skates, kind of like his feet with wheels. And it just turns out the size I want to do does not really fit that well into my bandsaw. So I had to like abandon those like skate ideas, and then I started like, let's just do them in cut paper. Why not? I was kind of inspired by the Doom guy painting. Maybe I'll show it at the end of the video. And yeah, I'm just like, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I'm hoping no one sees this as like me trying to incite violence. I just think it's more of a metaphor. That the idea that, like, I don't know, people started referring to the year 2020 as a dumpster fire, and it's been this like ongoing joke in my family that whenever we see a Cybertruck, we make the joke like, why would you put a dumpster there? Because like earlier in 2024, there were a bunch of raccoons who were trying to break into Cybertrucks because they assumed those were dumpsters because of the shape, and because they'd be parked like in a parking lot where that's also where you put a dumpster. So I just thought like, hey, let's just put the fire on there. Those actual spinning trucks were conceived way before the whole thing with the Trump Tower, but you know, I guess serendipity. Well, thanks to my Patreons, my patrons. Go over to patreon.com/more to support me and get the stickers for the sticker club, all that. Thanks again.